This content is brought to you by Scoutz, the strongest Salesforce hub in the Nordics and Poland, bringing tech solutions to Danish banks.
So Sebastian, Lech and Dominik Werens from Scoutz now telling you some more tales from the Viking world. Thank you so much. And please join me on this stage. Hello, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Dominik. I'm a DevOps in Scoutz. It's really good to see you here because practicing this to an empty room wasn't a great experience, actually. Yeah, and as I was introduced, I'm a DevOps. I have 3 years ago, I had no experience with Salesforce. I mean, I just learned about it. Until this point, I built so many packages in Salesforce that they would easily hire me in DHL. Yep. Now.
And hi, I'm Sebastian. I'm a developer, guilty of copying code from Stack Overflow, downloading scripts, and abusing Jenkins to the full extent. And yeah, I'm DevOps in Scoutz also.
Yeah. We want to tell you a little bit about our history, because Maciej already introduced a little bit of it, but we want to introduce ourselves in terms that I was initially from BEC, Sebastian was from Nicredit, so we were cooperating really close, you can say, but still we were in 2 completely separate companies. And of course, that causes what? Problems. Yeah? But a little bit, BC is in general a technology provider to 22 banks, credit included. There are 3 biggest banks and 19 a little bit smaller ones. Those are those 3 biggest banks, so Nicredit, Spanoa, and I cannot pronounce that really well. I call it ALB in short. Yes, and one of the stuff that we're providing to the banks is Salesforce.
Yeah, so actually Nicredit was one of the biggest ones, and we all had like our own implementations of things that BC provided. So we did stuff on top of what BC provided for us. And yeah, there were problems.
And answering a little bit your question, earlier, we were delivering our solutions to all 22 banks in the same date. It was usually once per month. The dates were known like 2 or 3 months in advance because we needed to provide our clients information with what we're going. And we also had the policy that we should provide to all the banks at once. So there was one date set for all 22 banks. And it also was causing problems because we had the obligation to provide in the same time. But on the other hand, as Sebastian mentioned, 3 biggest banks have their own customizations. Their own customizations means that they might have some issues that we're not aware of. And even if they informed us that, yeah, you shouldn't go with this package because we are not ready, we are still obligated to deliver to all the banks because 21 other banks are waiting for that. And we have policies. So we still needed to go.
Yeah, so this is how it felt for us. We were fixing ship that already sailed to the sea, right? Because we got the package and yeah, sometimes things broke.
Yeah, we had to deal with it.
Yes.
Second thing is packages, because BC started using or rather providing Salesforce to all the banks around 7 years ago. So we really didn't have much better way to provide it to all the 22 production environments. So we chose packages. But the issue is that in that time, we had only first generation package to be chosen. And I don't know if you worked with first generation packages, probably some of you did, but they are not really nice to work with. You need to have the environment to build on them. So, you know, it's not, repository is no longer a source of truth. The environment was the actual source of truth. And because of that, it's difficult to build. We have a few really big packages, because back in the time it was more difficult for us to split it. So we ended up with big releases once per month. That could cause problems to the banks. And managed packages has some other disadvantages that were really not working for us, like hidden logs. Of course, if you're downloading something from App Exchange, it might be a good idea to hide logs, some of them. But for us, that we were like owned by the banks, it really didn't make much sense because we were providing them a package on the same date. Sometimes some of them weren't ready. Whatever the reason, if it was that they were not ready because of their own customizations, they still needed to, work with that.
Yeah.
And that was causing error blaming.
Imagine us debugging in the credit, right? We couldn't see past our code, and it was hard.
They were telling it's...
Yeah, so it was always their fault, right?
Yeah, let's say. And to really find out what is the issue, if it's on their side, on our side, we needed to use resources from both companies, which really doesn't make sense because this is just money, and we don't want to waste money, right? But this was how it was, yeah? There was also a third issue that we had.
Yeah, because BC never actually finished ISV signing, right? So the package didn't have its own limits. So we were sharing limits, imagine. So if guys just added one more SoQL, right, and we were doing SoQLs on top of that, we didn't know until the package actually shipped that we hit limits, right? Fun.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be able to even know that we are causing them problems because they have their own code, they have their own solutions. We cannot see that legally.
Yeah, we were actually legally bound not to share our credit code, right? It's a bank code, we cannot show it. So.
Yeah, and
sorry.
on ours, we were building it like for the standard small bank, so with no customizations. So if something was working for us, it should technically work for them, but it wasn't always the issue. Yeah, and we really loved each other. That's the conclusion. We had no problems.
That was a great relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, and you might think that this is all, that we didn't have more problems. You're not right. We had some communication problems. This is more or less what also Maciej mentioned. So Sebastian is standing like 3 meters away from me, and I can ask him a question directly right now. Before that, the information that I would like to ask Sebastian needed to go through you. You needed to ask this guy over there. This guy needed to ask you a question. You could pass it to Sebastian. Maybe he would get the information that I really needed. Yep. It needed to go back. So instead of going just 3 meters, it needed to go 1,332 kilometers to Copenhagen and back. It doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, we actually tried that path because except for the package, they were actually installing some code also on our instances, right? And we didn't know about that. So me getting to actually to Dominik to find out what he was installing, right? I had to go through that path. So finally I could go to Dominik and ask him about that. And as it happened, it was just a simple task for him to send me what he was deploying to our instance. So it was simple, but yeah, that path made it really hard.
Yeah, our call lasted like for 5 minutes. We solved the issue that Sebastian needed to spend hours after release. And it costed me right around 2 minutes after each release. So, it's almost no cost. Yeah?
True.
There was also a big physical distance between us because Sebastian was on the 21st floor, I was on the 22nd. But still...
Actually different floors. Imagine how many stairs, right? We had to cross to actually talk. That's like insane. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is how it was. Then, as Maciej mentioned, the Scoutz arrived. So we took all the developers, all the Salesforce people in one place. We could finally drink beer together, as Maciej mentioned, and finally talk like normally, yeah, so as we would talk right now, standing next to face to face.
But as Maciej said, it's great, but it's not all just beer. There's also spaghetti, right? You can imagine that. You know what I mean. There are like 8 large packages in that, almost 1 million lines of Apex code. Imagine how many there's that code definitely somewhere there, right, that we don't know of. And only Odin knows how many metadata there is, so yeah, it's crazy.
And we had only one question to it, what to do?
Yeah. So you were asking about those months, what we were doing, right? We were just like sitting like that. So that was it. That was the 3 months now? Yeah.
Yeah, but we came up with a solution, which is package. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking those guys are crazy. They just told us that they have problems with packages. They have 8 large packages. Why they are proposing packages again? I know what you're thinking that, but we don't want this. We want to have this right now. This is the idea in Scoutz. So we want to have a lot of small packages instead of 8 big packages. Why do we want small packages? Why do we think it's really needed for us? It's not even an option right now. We just need to have some solution because now we are much bigger and it's really difficult now it would be difficult to manage big packages.
Smaller is better, believe us.
Yes. Now some of the advantages of small packages. First of all, it helps to keep code organized. Imagine that you have almost 1 million lines of Apex code, and it's just Apex, yeah, not other components, and you deploy them all to the 22 production environments. Yeah, probably it would be really difficult to track it. You have a lot of classes, you have a lot of references, some other metadata, and of course you might track what is doing what, how it's going to be connected with each other, with each component, but the package is doing it for us. Yeah, the package is like a container for the code, and it says, yes, this component is from this package, this component from this one. And it helps us to keep stuff organized from both technical perspective and business perspective. Why? Because if we create a small package just for some business feature, some business value, that we know that this package is responsible only for this one thing. It's not like before we had one, let's say, one large package. You're just putting 20 features there, and you're just installing it on some environment. It's, it's just big. Of course, you can somehow track it, but why if you can just have a small package with just this business functionality?
Yeah, and there's the idea that there's just should be one business reason for change of a package, right? So that's how small it should be. If there are 2 reasons for a change to that package, then you should probably have 2 in place.
As Sebastian mentioned, we have a lot of code, we have packages. Let's be honest, we have a lot of dead code, we have a lot of bad code. It was written throughout the years. This is finally the good opportunity to take it out, to build new small packages, to rewrite the code to finally be, let's say, of good quality, at least some of it, and just to throw away the old code that is not really needed anymore. So,
yeah. Also, when the packages are small, it's easier to just throw out a package, right? When you figure that you want to replace it, have something new in its place, right? It's just easier to throw away one package than to rebuild the big one and remove it from a big one.
Also, if we have one big package and we want to install it to 22 banks, they don't really have a choice of what's going to be installed. The whole package will be installed. With smaller packages, not a problem at all. Installation instead of deployment, what do I mean here? If you want to deploy code to some environment, then either you, Jenkins, or some other tool need to have access to this code to be able to go there and execute the deploy command. With installation, it's much easier. You just need to get a package ID. Someone can provide it to you. You can have some automation tools that will give it to you, whatever. And since we have, as Maciej mentioned, 10 teams, and since packages, of course, can be dependent on each other, it's much easier to just install package through the ID instead of having, 10 repositories on your laptop, needing to clone it, needed to fetch it all, whatever. You now have a package, it's much easier. At least that's what we think. And the fifth thing is smaller releases. This is more or less what we already mentioned. So if you have a small package, you can just deploy this business functionality. And what also do we mean? With big packages, let's say we wanted to put 20 features to new package to new release, and let's say 19 of them were working and 1 was not working. We needed to decide something. Do we revert the changes, if it's still possible? Should we just go and just take the risk? With smaller packages, we can just decide, okay, only this package is going to be delivered right now. The second one is not ready yet. Also, with smaller releases, we can go with deployment during daytime, which is much better for me because I was doing it before in nighttime. Don't like it because of various reasons. For example, if something is not working, I'm the only one who can figure it out during the nighttime. Here, it's not an issue. So yeah, smaller releases are in general better. Probably you all know that. But small packages are great, but as you probably know, there are some different types of packages. And we decided that the best package for us now will be the unlocked packages. Because as we mentioned, we used managed packages to this point. Now we want to switch to unlocked packages. Why? First of all, it has the open code. So as in a business model that we are actually owned by the banks, that we can share the code with them, we can just provide it with the open code, and then it's much easier to track all the errors, much easier to, put some logs and be able to read them. So in general, we are just able to fix some issues much faster. And that's very important for us. We want to have this speed, so that's perfect for us. Second thing is your component management. What do I mean by that? in managed packages, if you put some of the components to it, like for example, global class, you cannot really remove that. If it's already on production, only in some other orgs, if you put it there, it will stay there, and you don't have control over it anymore. So again, we are just stuck with the dead code that we're not using. There is a mess in the repository because we prefer to still have the information that we had this class. It's not an issue with the unlocked packages. If you want to remove it after adding, you can just do that. So that's a great advantage for us. The third thing is no need of namespace. This is how this is the field, how it looks with the namespace. This is how it looks without. In managed packages, you just receive a namespace and your components are stuck with it forever. Yeah, and it's good. You won't have duplicates. I mean, you cannot have duplicates, but it's not possible with namespaces. But it's also causing some problems for us, because once you put something to the package with this namespace, it's always assigned to this particular package. With unlocked packages, you can move it between packages, actually. If you put to one package, we don't use namespace, you can just let it go from this package, and another package can take it in. And now this particular component is assigned to this new package.
Yes, Salesforce namespaces are more designed for when you are like delivering managed package to your clients, right? And you want to have like many packages and have the packages talk to each other. That makes more sense. So in our setup, namespaces just don't make sense.
Also, they might have more sense if we were delivering solutions to some external clients. But now, as we are as a Scoutz in control of all the customizations, we know that we just have some processes. We just will going with adding our own prefixes to track each component. But we are sure that we won't have any duplicates, or we won't overwrite anything or whatever like that, because we have this control.
Exactly.
So unlocked packages are great. This is what we're going with, but unlocked packages also have some different types. You can have unlocked package with namespace, without namespace, or you can have org-dependent package.
Yeah, and we are actually curious how many of you know about org-dependent packages, because they're not that well used. Oh, you guys do? Yeah. Okay, there are some people that are using those, but this is all Dominik's finding that actually helped us greatly.
Yeah, because org-dependent package is the type of unlocked package, but it's behaving a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It has really short building time, but why is that? Because when you build a package, managed or unlocked, all the dependencies are checked. At the end, all the tests, Apex tests, are being verified. And you might think that it is great, and of course it's great, but building time of managed package for us took from 1 hour to 2 hours, depending on the size of the package and number of dependencies. Our new packages are being built in like 40 seconds to 1 minute, so you can count the difference, yes? Because of this short building time, it's much easier to implement it in the CI/CD pipeline. Why? Because with managed packages, they're taking 2 hours to build. We weren't really introducing them that much into CI/CD pipeline because we just didn't want to wait that much. Now, as we are going trunk-based in development, with each pull request to master branch, we're just building package. We're installing this package on the environment. So, of course, we are not checking dependencies during package build, but we are doing this during just after the build, during installation. And it's much faster for us, much better, so we're just going with it.
Yeah, and you're actually getting package after each build, right? So you have the package version after each pull request, right? It just goes.
Yeah, there is also no test validation, and tests are not validated neither during building time, neither during installation to non-production environment, and not during installation on production environment. So this is actually a workaround if you don't have tests. But yeah, you might think that we are, again, crazy because we're in a banking industry, and I'm just telling that no test validation is a good thing. Yeah. Why is that? Because we like to have a control. Salesforce is doing, during package building, at the end it's verifying the tests. But do we really need that? We need 2 hours for the package to be built for those tests, and how much time do we need to build proper pipeline just to execute those tests before going to production? It won't take that much. We will have control over that. and the building time will be much shorter still.
Yeah, and we will have control over code coverage, right? Is there a developer here that haven't actually written a test just for coverage, right? I mean, we all do it in Salesforce environment, even adding, those incremented lines that just to make the coverage better, right? We all did that. So, yeah, here we control how much coverage we have and how much coverage we want.
Yeah, because we don't believe in code coverage that much. Tests should cover what's really important, and the rest should be up to us.
Exactly.
So, in short, this is what we're going with: small packages, unlocked packages, and org-dependent packages.
Yeah, and there's one more thing that those three give us. But first, I want to ask you a question: how many agile believers are here? Is there still someone who believes in agile? There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4. So that's not much, right? Yeah, it's well known in the internet and everywhere that agile is dead, and it's just stand-up meetings and all that, and it doesn't bring any value. But when we joined together in Scoutz, there were those two gentlemen that they actually told us that they were working in Sparnord, that they deployed to production even 5 times a day. Imagine that. That's a bank setup, right? And they're deploying 5 times a day. That's crazy. So yeah, we sat with them at first. Yeah, we thought it's impossible. But then what we figured out is that when you're a child and you're programming stuff, you're put into your head that when you put a bug into production, that's cardinal sin, right? That's end of your development. You're going to developer hell, right? You cannot do that. But what those guys actually had was very good relation with the client. They were actually talking with advisors in the bank, and when they were deploying, advisors just gave them feedback that, guys, this doesn't work as it should, right? Or the button is in a wrong color, and they actually changed it very quickly. So they were able to actually have a very good solution in that regard. So together, what we figured out is that we want to, with the small packages and everything, we want to have, when we have a new feature, we'll pick a pilot bank out of those 22. Then we will give our teams as much freedom as we can, right? That's agile. So the teams can work as they want, but they will code, they will test. It's not that there's no test. They will build and they will install in production. Then client will verify and will give them feedback. So each bank will have advisors that actually can look at the solutions right after the teams work with them, right? It's like advisors working with the teams. So team can go through that loop as fast as they want or as slow as they want. It doesn't. We want to give teams freedom in that regard, and only after that package is ready, that feature is production ready, because the clients will look at it, will verify. Only then we'll take that package, we'll put it in a heavy test and validation here. We'll check whatever we need to check in that package. This will be heavier process because that package will then go to all the 22 banks. So that's the idea, and it also allowed us to figure out a way how to deal with this spaghetti, right? Because we can, when the client wants us to change something in the old code base, we can actually take parts of it from here, treat it as a new feature, and then go through the same process again, right? So we just don't touch it. We'll leave it in a, maintenance mode, only bug fixes, and all the features that clients want us to change will go through the process.
I will also add that those heavy tests are needed because, as we mentioned here, we're going really fast. We have feedback, and that's great, but it's just one bank. As you mentioned, there are 3 banks that have their own customization. So before going to 22 production, we need to have those heavy tests to validate if this solution is working also with their own customizations and without any customizations, because it's also an issue.
Yeah, also we'll check if the packages play nicely together, right? Because they might not.
Yeah, if 10 teams are working in this way, it's cool, but at the end, the packages need to also not break each other, and this is also the place that we're going to check it.
Yeah. So that's the way we want to actually resurrect Agile. Give teams freedom, work closely with the client, and go as fast as they want. Yeah.
And there is only one conclusion to that. We know that how we will end, because we will die in those packages.
Yeah, it's all not battle tested yet. We have like 3 packages now. One that's actually being developed with the client. So yeah, we will die.
Yeah, how? We might get crushed by tens, hundreds, maybe, to be honest, even thousands of packages at some point. So yeah, this will happen. We are aware of that. The second thing that can await for us will be the dependency hell, and it will happen for sure, because we really plan to have. Now we plan to have more than 100 packages, because we want to have small ones. We have 100 features planned, so a lot. And we know that it will happen. It will happen. It's waiting for us. So we are already thinking about some solution, about some tool that will help us track it. That's why also we want to have prefixes in all small packages, because then we can automate that. You see the prefix in this in this code, in this package. You can see, okay, now you are dependent on this package. Add it to the tree. So, yeah, but this is still the idea.
But it still will be hell.
But it still will be hell, yes. But all in all, we believe that if we do our best, if we improve that, and we will constantly improve that, yeah, we'll end up here in a package Valhalla.
Package Valhalla. Yeah.
As we mentioned, this is still being born. We are not perfect. We weren't also working like that. So for sure, I believe there are still better ways to handle some stuff. If you have any ideas, maybe you have better experience, please share it. Now, later, we are really happy to hear those stuff, because with each day, each time a developer asks us a question, we are improving slightly, bit by bit, and we believe that at some point we'll just be ready.
Yeah, also packaging will work for other orgs, right? So we encourage you to actually try and package your orgs also. I mean, it doesn't have to be banks, and it doesn't have to be 22 of them. Try packaging your code. I think it brings, it makes stuff better in Salesforce. And yeah, there's Package Valhalla for you also, so join us.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, we welcome any questions.
Yes, if anyone has a question, please raise your hand. Okay. On my side of the room. Okay, so the first question should be on.
Hello, my name is Maria. I'm very curious about the destiny of those 8 packages, 8 managed packages, more or less, that you had. Right, so I can imagine more or less every client has some of them or all of them in their orgs. And now you're starting this unlocked packages journey. So do you plan on taking some code out of these 8 packages and copying it into new unlocked versions, and you're going to maintain all 8, or you have another crazy idea? I'm very curious to hear. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer that, because actually, for now, we just said no more new stuff in those packages. This is just in maintenance mode. If there is some hot fix that needs to be provided, we're just doing that. If the feature is okay, it's on the production environment, we don't need to touch it, we are not touching that. If we need to improve it, because some banks say, this is fine, this is working, but we want something else, we want it to be improved, then we need to take it out from this managed package. We need to put it to small one, the org-dependent one. Then we are going to improve it there with this process that Sebastian described. And at the end, it will go to all the banks. That's the idea. So we don't plan to just now do a revolution and just fix all those packages. I try to do it with our managed package. It is possible, but it's very difficult, and it's taking a lot of time to really migrate the package that we have, because those are really big packages. We don't want to waste time. If there will be a need to take it from the package, we'll take it from it. Only then.
Yeah, and it won't be easy, right? Let's not cheat ourselves. This will be hard. There will be probably data migration somewhere around that. The idea is to just turn off the old code in the trigger, right? So when you're taking a feature out, just turn it off and leave all the old code there, right? But just take what you need and put in a new package, and we hope that at some point we'll be able to just throw it away.
But probably years, not months.
Yeah, we're thinking years. Yeah, if we don't end up in package Valhalla before, so yeah.
All right. Lucky to hear you're realistic. Would be very curious to meet you in 1 year from now, so that you can share. But good luck, anyways. That's a great idea.
We'll be happy, of course, to share it if we'll still be alive.
I believe we had another question somewhere in the audience. Yeah, would you like? It was pretty much covered, okay. And then on the other side, thank you, Pavel, okay. So from now on, Pavel is responsible for that side of the room.
Hi, thanks for the great presentation, guys. I remember you, the gentleman in orange, mentioning some problems with limits due to BC not being a full ISV and so on. Have you maybe thought about this way of working, covering this problem?
Yeah, we'll probably also hit it right at some point, but well, the idea is to have like a common framework, for example, triggers, right? So that each package will somehow, you know, how dependency injection in Salesforce, right? It's a joke, but yeah, we want to use it as much as we can, and yeah, at least do that, right? So have some common framework for stuff that might hit limits, but at least we'll know sooner, and we'll know where we hit that.
I will also add that now we work in one company, so we actually are responsible for all the code bases from all the 4 banks, so 3 banks and BC. So it was a problem because we didn't know what UniCredit or the other banks had there, and we could learn it a little bit later. Now, this is actually what this heavy testing process is for. This is for those limits also.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, one more. I think we have time for one more.
So I actually have 2, but I hope that's okay. So hello, I'm Jacob
So, yeah.
from Procter & Gamble. Thanks, guys, for the presentation. So I'm actually curious about this testing approach that is now shown in the slide. So my first question is, well, testing in production. Okay, so we can have different types of changes. Some are small, like you mentioned, for example, changing the color of a button, but some are bigger, basically. So the question is, does this approach apply to all kinds of changes?
Yes, we believe so, but let's not cheat ourselves, right? Client never tests. Client can verify, but client won't test like all the edge cases and all that stuff. He can just take the package and use it. So those tests will be, well, left to the teams, right? So team will decide how much tests they need depending on what they are delivering, right? We strive to have mature teams that know what they are doing, right? And will check what they need to check, right? And then client will just use it.
I will also add that we don't plan to just throw it to the production for everyone to use. There will be some beta users, the advisors that we'll be working closely with. Only some of them will have access to this new feature. Also feature flags to be able to disable new feature if it's needed. Also, we believe that since this process should work really fast, that commits and changes provided should be small. We shouldn't wait for the whole solution to be ready. We should throw parts so the client can verify, of course, where it's possible, and just go with the small ones because it's also easier to revert if there is a problem.
Okay, I see. So verifying in small chunks, basically. And then the second question is kind of connected. So you mentioned using the actual production environment of like one pilot bank. Why not use like UAT environment or something like that, which is non-prod?
Yep, because the idea is for the client to actually use the package, right? Like I said, client won't test. I mean, from experience, the UATs it's really hard to engage client on the UAT environment because usually clients don't see the value in that. It's a different environment for them. Everything's different there, right? So they cannot like work like they usually work with that. So yeah, UATs here, we don't believe will actually help. The idea is to really give the client the feature to actually work with it.
And there is also the environment in between that we are still discussing if clients should have access to it, maybe to check some stuff here first and then verify there. Still in progress.
Yeah, but client, yeah, I mean, from experience, client never actually tests, right, on UAT or whatever.
Okay, thanks, guys. I'm looking forward to hearing from you in a year.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I guess we'll meet up in a year and check how it goes. Okay, yeah. Pavel, I see you joining us on stage because right now we would love to award you guys with our SForce awards. So thank you so much for your presentation, and please give a warm thanks. Okay, yeah, warm thanks and warm applause for our presenters.
Thank you.
Yes.